All right, so this is looking at SI measurement, which is the international standard, or metric is what the vast majority of the world uses. It's officially what we use in Canada, but we also use a bit of the imperial system as well, which is like feet and inches. But in terms of distances, the main measurements we look at are millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. And so first we want to have a sense about what each one of these is roughly. So 1 millimeter is about the thickness of a dime. Not the diameter of a dime, but the thickness of a dime. Okay, so it's thin, but it's not like microscopic or anything. 1 centimeter is about the width of a fingernail. 1 meter is about the height of a doorknob. And 1 kilometer is about 5 blocks. 5 long blocks. Again, these are all just giving you a sense. I'll say, a kilometer takes about, it's about a 10 to 15 minute walk, depending on how relaxed your pace is. Okay, all these measurements, though, are interchangeable. And so if I look at this little table right here, this kind of show a number of things. So first of all, I start with 1 centimeter. Well, 1 centimeter is the same as 10 millimeters. And that's the most important conversion in this row right here. And in general, I can see that if I ever want to go from centimeters to millimeters, I want to times by 10. And if I ever want to go from millimeters to centimeters, I want to divide by 10. That's it. There's more things I could say, but I'll leave it at that for now. Okay, so I'm going to leave the other numbers in that row blank for now. Meters. 1 meter is the same as 100 centimeters. And that's the most important conversion right here. And I can see anytime I want to go from meters to centimeters, I want to times by 100. Or if I want to go from centimeters to meters, I want to divide by 100. And lastly, I want to look at kilometers. 1 kilometer is the same as 1,000 meters. And so similarly, anytime I want to go from kilometers to meters, I just have to times by 1,000. Anytime I want to go from meters to kilometers, I want to divide by 1,000. So while what I've highlighted are the most important conversions and most important connections that hopefully look familiar, I can use this to fill in the rest of the blanks. For example, if I want to figure out what 1 centimeter is in meters, I just need to take 1 and divide by 100. And 1 divided by 100 is 0.01. I'm writing this kind of light because honestly, it's not nearly as important. I don't want you to memorize that 1 centimeter is 0.01 meters, but it's correct. And if I want to change 0.01 meters into kilometers, I need to divide by 1,000. And if I divide by 1,000, I get 0.00001. I think I should have 3 more zeros. Yeah, I think that's right. Just want to make sure. Yeah, just got to make sure all those zeros are correct. But again, saying 0.00001 kilometers is the same as 1 centimeter. It's not wrong, but why not just say 1 centimeter? Similarly, 1 meter I can change into kilometers by, again, dividing by 1,000. So 1 divided by 1,000 is 0.001. And finally, for this last row, if I want to change 1,000 meters into centimeters, I want to times by 100. So I should have 5 zeros, 10,000. That's right, that's 4 zeros, 100,000. And if I want to change centimeters into millimeters, I want to times that by 10. So 1,000,000. But again, the ones I wrote in last, I deliberately wrote in that sort of light gray because honestly, I can complete the table, I can convert any of them, but I really don't care about this too much. I feel like they're just needlessly messy. Like, yeah, 1,000,000 millimeters, same as a kilometer. But who cares? What really matters is that 1,000 meters is a kilometer. All right, so we can convert here. We can, and again, the ones that are highlighted are the ones that really, really matter. And we want to be familiar with those, as well as these reference, we call them at the top. Just kind of a rough idea of what a millimeter, a centimeter, a meter, and a kilometer is. And so for each of these measurements, these are not appropriate measurements. They're needlessly difficult to visualize. 4,150 millimeters. Let's change this first to centimeters. If I want to change this to centimeters, I want to divide by 10. And now it's in centimeters. And that's 415 centimeters. And that's pretty good. It's definitely better. That's it. I can also change this into kilometers, into meters by dividing by 100. And so while that's correct, I can also write it as 4.15 meters. Both these are pretty good. I can visualize both these pretty well. If I had to pick one, I probably like 4.15 meters better, but they're both correct. So that's a more appropriate, this is a more appropriate measurement than 4,150 millimeters. What about 0.0002 kilometers? Let's change it first into meters. And again, if you ever want to go from kilometers to meters, you times by 1,000. So I'll times this by 1,000. Which really just means I'm moving the decimal 3 spots. The good thing about multiplying and dividing by 100 is, or 10 or 1,000, is the decimals just kind of move back and forth. And so this is the same as 0.2 meters. Okay, and while that's correct, let's change this into centimeters by timesing by 100. And you get 20, and that's a good measurement to keep it at. 20 centimeters, I can visualize that quite well. So again, that's a more appropriate unit. Finally, 6 million centimeters. We're probably going to change this into kilometers. Let's first divide by 100 to put it into meters. And dividing by 100, really, I just lose 2 zeros. So I should have 4 zeros left, which is 60,000 meters. Now to change it into kilometers, I want to divide by 1,000, which will get rid of 3 zeros, which is 60 kilometers. And so again, what I've circled are definitely more appropriate units than what we started with. And the great thing about converting between units is while you can use a calculator, you're just, again, dividing, multiplying by 10, 100, or 1,000, as you can all kind of remember from right here. And really the decimal is just moving back and forth. But you can use a calculator as well.